I'm Laura Engel, and you are in the Strategy Room. Ahead of the next Republican debate on Wednesday, Donald Trump ramping up his campaign schedule. Trump is scheduled to make stops in Iowa and Texas, as well as a major national security speech on the USS Iowa in Los Angeles. As the GOP frontrunner puts foreign policy front and center, could past blunders on the issues hurt him? Here to weigh in are Professor Jeannie Zaino from Iona College and TJ McCormick, former media specialist for Astorino for Governor. Welcome to you both.
Thanks.
Hello. All right. So, we got to talk about where we're going with Trump and all of these events that he has scheduled going into Wednesday. So is Trump focusing on foreign policy? A good move at this point? Going in for the debate, I guess he's got to be ready for it, right?
I think it's a very good move. I think we really do need to see, he's been in this a while, 2 or 3 months, and we haven't heard a lot of substance in terms of policy. And one thing looking at him as a candidate is that he doesn't have a lot of foreign policy experience. So I do think he needs to get out there and share with the potential voters exactly what he plans to do, particularly in light of that very rough interview he had with Hugh Hewitt, the conservative talk show host, where he had some stumbles on foreign policy. He really needs to get out there, say what his plans are, and then I think be prepared to handle tough questions both during the debate and afterwards.
TJ, he said of that rough interview that he had that he felt like he was getting gotcha questions when the radio host Hugh Hewitt said, these are normal questions that we talked about, the Quds versus the Kurds and all of that. So
and since, look, he said, even in the interview, he is saying, no, look, I don't believe in gotcha questions. Right after he asked him an obvious gotcha question. You're dealing with a guy who has got so much popular support right now that you've got people who are, the people that are supporting him are not going to be swayed. They're going to circle the wagons around this guy in their own mind. They're going to hear that interview of Kurds, throwing out names that nobody listening to the radio show has ever heard before, and they're going to say, how would you expect him to know? So in other words, I think it was certainly a gotcha, and it didn't make a dent. Look, if what he said about John McCain didn't make a dent, if his ensuing battles with certain members of the media didn't make a dent, then a little throwaway moment with Hugh Hewitt isn't going to slow him down either.
And some of the political pundits we've been listening to say they don't think that it was, in terms of gaffes on the Trump scale, that this wasn't something that was huge. And you're right, it doesn't seem to have made a dent. But, is he trying to fix his image as we go into Wednesday with these huge events and these big stakes?
He thinks his image is fine, right? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's Donald Trump, and there are so many gaffes. I disagree with TJ a little bit on this. I do think, and this is a problem I think for Trump going forward, that is Hugh Hewitt's style. He is a very well-respected, incredibly smart, very conservative talk show host. And he said from the start, these are questions he's asked over and over. So anybody preparing for a Hugh Hewitt debate, I see, regular people on the street, these questions might not fly. But if you're a prepared candidate, you go in there, these aren't gotcha questions. These are real substantive questions that he has to be able to answer. So I disagree on the gotcha notion a little bit. And don't forget, Hugh Hewitt, interestingly, is going to be one of the questioners at the debate.
Right.
And so Trump knows he has to face that. So, is it on the scale of a large gap that's going to stop Trump? Nothing seems to stop Trump. But I do think it is telling for people who are really focused on foreign policy issues that, we have to look carefully at who this guy is, what he knows, and how is he going to go forward. All we've heard so far from Trump on many of these issues is that he's going to hire managers. We need to know a little bit more, or a lot more in my mind.
At the same time, the American people are sitting around saying, I wish somebody would just surround himself with just the best. How many street level Americans and Republicans are out there saying, God, we could use a CEO to run this country once and for all. So I think every single thing he has done has resonated, and I don't think it's all coming out of some crazy petri dish in some political laboratory.
Well, I don't think it's crazy, but I do think if you're going to say that my plan to run for president is I'm going to hire good people around me, it's simply not going to be enough to get the nomination. Isn't that the job of the president?
And real quick about the strategy moving forward, the strategy to get to Wednesday. What does he need to do to hit it out of the park?
I think he needs to be very careful not to make any substantive gaffes. I think he is an excellent debater. He certainly knows how to present himself, and he's got to be aware he is the top dog. Everybody's going to hit on him. We've seen that from Jindal recently. We're going to see it probably from the questioners. So he can't be surprised. When you're on top, everybody's going to be gunning for you.
TJ, last word.
I agree. They're all gunning for him, and I think he's going to make what he believes will be the greatest, most spectacular foreign policy speech in the history of the United States.
And I'm sure it will be.
It's fabulous.
I wonder if there's anything that he worries about. in terms of getting up on stage and about questions, about anything? Is there anything that makes his heart beat fast?
I don't think so. Winning makes
yes,
his heart beat fast.
Right.
You know?
The idea of losing, maybe,
Yeah,
too.
and he says he doesn't prepare for these, which I think is a problem, but maybe he does and doesn't want to admit it. Like
Right.
good students sometimes say they don't study, but they do secretly, and because he's a good student. So
Fascinating, isn't it?
It is indeed. And Jeannie Zaino and TJ McCormack, I want to thank you very much for joining us here today and hashing this out. You want to check out foxnews.com for more on the 2016 presidential race. I'm Laura Engel. Thanks for watching.